There are punishments that leave marks on the skin and others that leave marks on the mind. Strapping did both. For generations, a heavy leather strap was seen as a simple and effective way to enforce discipline. Whether across the hands of school children or the buttocks of prisoners, strapping was designed to hurt enough that the memory would stay long after the pain faded. This method was once accepted as a normal part of education and justice, but over time, it became one of the most controversial forms of corporal punishment ever practiced. What is strapping? Strapping is a type of corporal punishment that uses a broad strip of heavy leather to strike the body. The strap usually has a firm handle to help the person delivering the punishment keep control. Unlike a whip or a cane, which are long and thin, the strap is wide and flat. This design spreads the impact over a larger area, creating a powerful sting and deep bruising. Strapping can be applied to different parts of the body. The two main types are hand strapping, where the palm or fingers are struck, and buttock strapping, which targets the bare or clothed backside. One of the most famous variations is the Tawse, a strap split into two or more tails. The Tawse was widely used in Scottish schools for over a century. Where did strapping come from? The use of leather straps as punishment has been recorded for hundreds of years. In Britain, strapping became especially common during the 1800s and 1900s. Schools, reformatories, military academies, and prisons all adopted the strap as a way to discipline children and adults alike. In Canada, the strap was a legal punishment in many provinces, particularly in schools and juvenile facilities. The idea behind it was that a few sharp strokes would correct behavior quickly without long-term injury. In Scotland, the Tawse became a symbol of classroom authority. Teachers believed that a firm punishment helped maintain respect and order. In other countries like Australia and New Zealand, strapping also spread through colonial influence. How was strapping carried out? The process of strapping varied, depending on where it happened. In schools, hand strapping was the most common. A student would stand at the front of the classroom or in the head teacher's office. They had to stretch out their arm, palm facing upward, while the teacher raised the strap high and brought it down with force. Some schools required the child to hold out both hands together, so the strap struck both palms at once. Each stroke created a sharp, burning pain that could make it difficult to grip a pencil afterward. In other settings, especially prisons and reformatories, strapping was often applied to the buttocks. The person might be bent over a table or held in place by guards. The blows could be so severe that the skin bruised deeply or even split open. In some cases, strapping was combined with other punishments, like confinement or loss of privileges. Rules usually specified how many strokes were allowed, but in practice, it was sometimes left to the discretion of the person delivering the punishment. What was the Tawse? The Tawse deserves special attention because it became an iconic form of the strap. A Tawse is a thick leather strap divided at the end into two or more tails. The split design made each stroke more painful because the tails spread out on impact and pinched the skin. The Tawse was used almost exclusively in Scotland, where it was the main instrument of corporal punishment in schools until it was banned in the 1980s. Teachers often kept a Tawse in their desk drawer or hanging by the chalkboard as a visible reminder of discipline. Some schools even had different sizes of Tawses for older and younger students. A standard punishment might be 2 or 3 strokes, but repeated offenses could mean more. While many teachers believed the Tawse was a necessary tool, former students often described it as humiliating and terrifying. How did strapping affect those who received it? Strapping had both physical and emotional consequences. Physically, the impact of a thick leather strap could leave dark red welts and bruises that lasted for days. On the hands, the pain was often immediate and sharp, sometimes causing swelling that made it hard to write or hold objects. When applied to the buttocks, the strap could cause deeper bruising, bleeding, and severe soreness. Emotionally, many people who were strapped as children recalled feelings of shame and fear. For some, the punishment damaged their trust in teachers or parents. Studies have shown that corporal punishment, including strapping, is linked to increased aggression, anxiety, and lower self-esteem. Rather than teaching lasting respect, it often taught that authority was something to fear. Why was strapping seen as acceptable? Supporters of strapping argued that it was quick, predictable, and effective. In schools with large classes, teachers believed that a short, painful punishment kept order without removing children from lessons. Parents often accepted strapping because it mirrored the discipline many of them had experienced growing up. In institutions like reformatories and prisons, officials claimed that the strap was a practical way to control inmates and discourage rule-breaking. They insisted that, compared to harsher punishments like whipping, strapping was more humane because it didn't usually break the skin. However, critics pointed out that this belief ignored the emotional trauma and the risk of serious injury when strapping was used excessively. When did strapping start to decline? By the mid-20th century, attitudes toward strapping began to change. As researchers studied the effects of corporal punishment, more evidence showed that it could harm children's development. International organizations like the United Nations called for bans on all forms of physical punishment. In Scotland, a famous legal case in the 1980s helped end the tawse in schools. Parents argued that strapping violated their children's rights, and courts eventually agreed. Other countries followed. Canada banned corporal punishment in most schools by the early 2000s. Australia and New Zealand passed similar reforms. In the United Kingdom, the strap and tawse disappeared from classrooms, though some private institutions resisted change longer. Is strapping still practiced today? Today, strapping is almost completely banned in schools and juvenile facilities across Europe, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. However, in some places, corporal punishment laws remain less clear. A few private schools and religious institutions have tried to defend the practice as part of tradition, but public opinion has shifted strongly against it. International human rights groups continue to document cases where strapping and similar punishments are still used, especially in prisons in parts of Africa and Asia. Even where it is technically legal, fewer educators or officials now believe it is necessary. What can we learn from strapping? Strapping shows how ideas about punishment can change over time. What was once routine discipline is now recognized as harmful and outdated. Learning about the history of strapping helps us understand why societies began to question corporal punishment. It also reminds us that causing pain is not the same as teaching respect. As more research confirms the damage these punishments can do, the move toward nonviolent discipline continues to grow. Strapping's decline is a sign that compassion and understanding are stronger tools for shaping behavior than fear ever was. For many people, the sight of a leather strap brings back memories of fear and humiliation. Today, as most societies reject corporal punishment, strapping has become a reminder of how discipline can cross the line into cruelty. Learning this history helps us choose better ways to teach, guide, and care for each other. What do you think about strapping? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you'd like to learn more about punishment worldwide and throughout the ages, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.